Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being a little early. We're going to get started in a couple of minutes, but before we do that, I just want to make sure you can actually see my screen and hear my voice. So if I could just ask you to go into your control panel, just type in the question box, yes, you can hear me, you can see me, or just raise your hand, just so I know that you can definitely hear my voice and see my screen. If you could do that for me, that would be great. Really appreciate that. Okay, that's fantastic. Good. Okay, thank you very much. I put a question here, what are you supposed to be looking at? I believe you should be able to see my screen. If you can see my screen, can I just have from those people who have already answered, just say yes, you can see my screen, just to make sure you can definitely see my screen. Okay, great, good. Okay, so, hi everyone, my name is Rudy Janssen and I'm the head coach at ACOA. So we run a black belt coaching program exclusively for accountants who are determined to make a change in their practices and in their lives. So I'm really excited about today's session. We're going to go deep into how to add extra value to your client relationships, how to communicate effectively with your team, and how to create continuous growth for your practice. So let me just make sure I can get onto the next screen there. Great. So I call these the 3 gets. So just to make sure, 100% sure, that you're the most ready to get the most out of this morning. So the first one is get the tools you're going to need. So make sure you've got something to write on, you've got something to drink, you've got something to write with. And the second get, make sure you get rid of distractions. So ideally, switch your mobile phone off or put on silent, lock your door, let your PA hold your calls. Give yourself the same gift you give to your clients every single week. Some uninterrupted time focused on you and your practice instead of the world and its needs. Because at the end of the day, it is your practice that can buy your freedom. And the third get here, get yourself ready. So here's the thing, I know that the information that I have for you could absolutely be a pivot point. It could dramatically change your practice. And the only thing that will stop that today is how you show up here. I got up early this morning, went for a walk, I've got a strong coffee here next to me to keep me awake, some water. I'm standing up because I want to give you my A game. And I guarantee that if you bring your A game to this, you will get the most out of this today as well. So let me ask you one question. If there was one feeling or emotion you could bring to the next hour or a bit, what would that one emotion be that would give you the most joy, fire in your belly, value out of this time together? What's the one feeling you might want to bring to this? I'd love to know. And also, it's a bit of today's going to be very interactive, so it's a bit of a play around for you to get used to your control panel. So have a go at that. So it might be curiosity, passion, intensity, some intrigue. What is your word? So I'd love you to type that into your control panel, into the question box there. So go ahead and do that now. And let's see which words you come up with. And keep in mind that I can see all of you on this, so I can see if you're not answering. Great, we've got a few coming in here. Passion, curious. Positivity from Paul, fantastic. Curious from Jonathan. Neil says passion, great. And come, let's get from the others of you as well. I know there's quite a few of you on this webinar, so get into your control panel there, type some words. Carl says curious, good, as it should be, Carl, absolutely. Charles says suspicion. Charles, absolutely. We would be pretty bad at our jobs if that was the one thing we did not bring to most things, so very good. Okay, let's get a few more in there. I can see people coming in here. Paul, Roger, Rosie, Tom, John, Gerard, Amon, Dennis, Charles, Andy, Andrew. Come on, guys. Let's put in some words there. Get into your control panel, type a word. Martin, give me a word there. Okay, good. Fantastic. Okay, brilliant. So, good. Listening, says Rosie. Happy, Zishan. Fantastic. Okay, great stuff. So, now we know where the control panel is because we are going to be using it quite a bit this morning. So, let's get started, shall we? So, welcome to today's training, and let's take a quick overview of the journey we're going to go on together this morning and how the session is going to work. Firstly, a bit about my style. I'm originally from South Africa, so I have a South African accent, and you've probably noticed by now I talk really fast, so that means that you're going to have to listen really fast this morning. And also, I am going to give you the straight truth. You know, I've been working exclusively with accountants for the last 6 years now, and I'm going to give you this morning what works and what doesn't work, and just the straight facts. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, and I'll tell you what I've seen about how to grow your practice and leverage your time. So we are going to have a good time. I definitely want this to be interactive, not because it is fun, but because I've got a lot of stuff planned, and I want to find out where you're at and what you need right now. So, you know, if you're typing that into the box as we go along, then I know exactly what you need, and I won't just give you this generic presentation. So let's make this interactive because it is going to help both of us, and frankly, it's much more fun. You know, it's a bit odd for me sitting at my side speaking to my laptop, and it's a bit strange for you sitting on your side listening to your computer. So if we could make this conversation backwards and forwards, you and me, I think that'll be much more fun, help us both be more engaged, and get a much better outcome. So if that's okay with you, please type okay or yes into your chat box here, please, into the question box, just to make sure we're on the same page here. Okay, fantastic. Good. Okay, brilliant. Thanks. So for us, the contents today, really simple stuff. Number one, I want to show you why you're working on a broken model in your practice, and why this model that you've got is costing you thousands in profit and hours in time every year. Number two, we're going to look at the value added factor and how the right customer service system can add a lot of extra value to your client relationships. Then we're going to look at effective communication and the exact team meeting rhythm you need to do this. And then number four, we're going to look at 3 simple steps to creating continuous growth in your practice. So if I had to summarize what our goal really is, then it is how to add extra value to your client relationships, communicate effectively with your team, and create continuous growth for your practice. So I'm going to give you everything I've got in the time we've got this morning, and at the end, I'm going to show you a system where you can take all the material we covered today and install it into your practice so you get results even faster. So I just want to check in, does that sound okay? Are we in the right room? Are we having the right conversation? So do me a favor, please. Just type into the question box for me, sounds good or good to go, and that'll let me know that you're ready. Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. And hopefully my voice will stay with me this morning. Okay, fantastic. Great. Thank you. So I don't know what got you where you are today. I don't know your backstory yet, and I'd love to have that conversation at some stage. But regardless of what brought you here, let's start with a couple of questions. So please type your answers into the chat box, and I promise not to read out the names on this specific one. So firstly, what is the number one outcome that you want to get for yourself from today's webinar? Now, you've made the time available in your diary. What is the number one outcome that by the time we finish here, you go, wow, I'm so glad I took part in that. So type that in there for me, and let's see some ideas there. Okay, ideas to put into the practice. Absolutely. More A-grade clients. I'm not going to give you A-grade clients, but I'll tell you a bit more about how you can go about getting them. Respond to the KPMG challenge. Absolutely. I'm going to give you one, I say simple, but it is the one tool that you need to respond to that challenge. A successful approach to getting more valuable customers. Great. How to add extra value to client relationships. An efficient practice. Tom, that is a bit of a wider conversation, but this is a starting point. Ideas to add more value to client relationships. Good, Cole. Respond to the PwC challenge. Jonathan, you will absolutely know how to do that by the time we finish here. And I guess there's two ways to respond. The one is defense, let me keep what I've got because they're busy poaching my clients. And then another one is how do I go out in the attack? And today is more about how do I keep what I have. And stuff I can implement. Liam, all the stuff absolutely can implement as long as you take it one step at a time. Okay, fantastic. And Neil, welcome on this morning as well. Good stuff. Okay, so second question. And to be honest, we've only been friends for less than 10 minutes. And if we've just met face-to-face, there's no way I'd ask you this up front, but I really need to know where you are at so I can help you. What's the biggest problem that you have in your practice right now? So I can type that in. What is the biggest problem that you have in your practice right now? Now, it might be related to team. It might be related to, I don't know, your debtors, work in progress, marketing is not working, not enough clients. Okay, so Charles says software. Good. Zishan, recruiting the right staff. Zishan, totally get that. There's a whole process around that. Liam says creating the growth. Good. Paul, not enough clients. And not the right ones, definitely. Rosie, staff, lack of engagement. Rosie, I would say to you, we may not touch on that this morning as such. No, well, no, we are in the team communication. We will touch on it. But there's more in my video blogs on my website. If you go back, I think about a page or so, you'll see some video blogs where I cover that subject 100%. Andy says, how do I connect my audio? Andy, I'm not sure if that's for listening. Then you can also phone in. You'll see the little audio icon. You can phone in. Jonathan says, relatively new startups who need to onboard some customers to get cash flow positive. Jonathan, you're in the hunt stage. Get yourself out there. Carl says, lack of team cohesion. Carl, we are covering that topic 100% today. Okay, fantastic. Good stuff. So I built this webinar that you're seeing this morning for my clients, or today you're seeing elements of it, but essentially this whole thing was built for my clients. Because it's probably about 2 years ago now, a client of mine came to me and said, Rudy, I want to build my practice as a machine that makes money, and then I want to extract myself from it. What's the fastest way to get there? And so he asked me this great question, but the problem with a great question like that is you can't answer such a deep question in 30 seconds. So I built this webinar to give him and everyone else the answers. Now, we're not going to cover everything, but we are going to cover enough for you to know what the answers are. So we're going to be moving really fast. Number one, I talk very fast and there's a lot to cover. And if it's helpful to you, at the end, I'd be happy to give you a recording of this presentation. So if it comes out and I've pushed the right buttons, then it should be there. Just let me know, would that be helpful to you? If you would like that, just type a yes, so I know that this would be useful to you. Okay, great, fantastic. Good, thank you. And then at the end, we're going to get to the Q&A. And at that point, please remind me to give you the recording and I'll get that to you as soon as it's online. Okay, so that's more than enough an intro, so let's get started on this thing. Now, as accountants, absolutely, we are a pretty intelligent bunch on the whole. Now, there's a few of us, but on the whole, we're pretty intelligent. Now, and also, we've invested years into studying. And on top of that, we are prepared to work really hard. As a type of people, we really do put in the blood, the sweat, and the tears. Yet, we're generally speaking either time poor and or, quite frankly, money poor. So considering what we put in as opposed to what we're getting out, something is just not adding up there. So why do you think so many partners or owners of accountancy practices are struggling so much? I'd love to hear your input. Give me the one word or concept. Why do you think so many partners and practice owners who are intelligent people who work damn hard are struggling? And the first answer comes in, it puts a big smile on my face. They are poor business men and women. Yes, Charles, we can say poor business people. I think of it as a lack of knowledge. There's certain little bits of vital pieces of knowledge that we don't have. Okay, good. Carl says busy, busy, busy. Absolutely, Carl, I agree with you 100%. And that's one of the main reasons why every one of our clients, in the first 4 to 12 weeks, we put them on a strict program when it comes to time management. Because if we don't crack that one nut, we're always going to be too busy to actually get around to the stuff that's really important, which is building this practice so I can build this machine, if that's my choice, to ultimately give me back my time and my money. So busy, busy, busy. Zishan says because they're not working on the business. Absolutely. I'm employed within it. Okay, let's get a few more in there. Why do you think so many partners or practice owners are struggling? And again, keep in mind, I can, although not see into your eyes, I can see your names, yeah? So, Patrick, love to hear an answer from you. Paul, Martin, let's get one there. Jonathan, Gerard, Jeff, you're very quiet this morning. Sometimes you can be quite verbal in this system, yeah? Dennis and Dee, love to get some answers from you as well. And Rose says difficult to balance management with client work. Yes, totally agreed. It can be when we do it in a certain way. Good. D, because they're not designated jobs. Absolutely, D. Totally. Okay, fantastic. So, let me share with you this big plus sign on your screen now. Now, this is Rudy's theory about life. So, take a wild guess with me. What might, now I appreciate some of you may have seen this before and some not. What might that E stand for on that quadrant? If you take a wild guess, what might the E stand for in that quadrant? Energy. Good guess, not quite one. Okay, Jonathan's coming here with employee. Yes, Jonathan, 100% right. It's employee or employed. So let's go to the next one. If the E stands for employed or employee, what might the SE stand for? Take a wild guess. What might the SE stand for? And type that for me into the chat box as well. There's the question box. Okay, good. We got a self-employed. Fantastic. Yeah, 100%. So employed, self-employed. Next one. What might the BO stand for? Oh, I can see we've got some quick learners on this system here. Yep, 100%. Business owner. Okay, fantastic. And then the last quadrant, what might the I stand for? I'm not even going to read that one, Charles. Good. Okay, this one is I for investor. Fantastic. Thanks, Paul and Christopher. Good on you guys. Okay, so I for investor. So I believe that life works like this. Now, really above the top left-hand E, we should have a small s. So we all go to school at some point. And then at some point, we become an employee. Now, we might go to college, university, or not, but at some point, we become an employee. So here I'm an employee, and somebody's teaching me how to do something. And I've got my hands in front of my body. I'm doing this thing. Now, it might be plumbing, so I've got my hands in front of my body doing plumbing. I might be a bookkeeper, so I've got my hands in front of my body typing on the keyboard. Whatever, my hands in front of my body. Then one day, I decide, you know what, I can do it much better than these idiots I'm working for. I'm going to make this big jump and become self-employed. So I do it myself. Fantastic, well done. And soon I realized actually who is the biggest idiot. But hey, fantastic. The main similarity with or between employed and self-employed is at self-employed, even though I'm working for myself and I actually have less leave than I had before, my hands are in front of my body and I'm doing it myself. You know, my hands are doing it. So if I was a plumber before employed, hands in front of my body, at self-employed, I'm still a plumber, I'm doing it with my hands in front of my body. Big key here. Next big jump. Oh, actually there's arrows here. Good. Okay, next big jump is from self-employed to business owner. And what happens here is that we take these self-employed hands in front of your body and we tie them behind your back whilst you're kicking and screaming, because the only way that you know is how to have your hands in front of your body doing it. So now we tie your hands behind your back and we say, run this business the same and better than before. So this is a very, very different skill set, which you may not have learned yet. And to be very honest, I don't know of too many places that teaches this stuff. So here at Business Owner, the keys, two big keys, having the right team and having the right systems. So at Business Owner, eventually you get to the point where you've built the right systems throughout the entire business and you've got 100% your A-plus team on board. That is a place where you can then finally, because then you've built this machine. You've got the right people, the right systems, it's running itself. That's when you can make that final jump into the investor quadrant. Investor quadrant, my clients who've done that, oh, what an amazing place to be. And over the years, I've only had one person who jumped into that quadrant who said, thank you, I've had my years, I'm actually retiring. And literally, Raymond travels the world, he's having a blast, but he's on holiday pretty much all the time. All my other clients who have done that jump, what they start doing is, quite frankly, they start playing Monopoly, because they've now learned how to ride this bicycle. And once you know how to ride the bicycle, you can pick up that bicycle 20 years later and you can still ride it. And you know, they start businesses from scratch, they acquire other businesses, and they transform them because they know how to do this now. What an amazing place, because in the investor quadrant, you're not exchanging time for money anymore. And well, quite frankly, all my clients are on this jump from self-employed to business owner. And if we said self-employed, if you're fully 100% in self-employed, then we'd give it a 0 to 10 ranking. So self-employed is 0. If you're in business owner but just about to make that jump into investor quadrant, that would be a 10. So if you had to give yourself a 0 to 10 rating right now, where would you pin yourself at this point in time? Just a gut feel, pick a number. So I'd love to have you type in your number into the chat or question box there. 0 to 10 rating, where would you put yourself at this point in time? Because this is quite an interesting exercise. Good, we've got a 6, 2, 4. Okay, Jonathan, 0 is fully self-employed. So I'm the person doing everything with my hands, and maybe I don't even have other people working with me, or maybe I do have a few. 10 would be fully business owner. I'm about to make my jump to investor. I'm hands behind my back, 100%. Okay, I've got a 2, 5, 4, 9. Fantastic. Dennis, on your 9, it's brilliant. Well done. Fantastic. Jonathan's about 3. Okay, so we've got a whole range here. And, you know, it's interesting because I've had clients who, I mean, the firm is turning over £6 million, and the owner would still say, I think I put myself at about a 7. So, you know, it can be a range, but it's incredible what starts happening as you start appreciating, where am I right now? Oh, there is actually an end goal, and what is missing? What do I need to work on, implement, put in place to make that jump, because it's in the I box where freedom sits. That is a place where you have freedom of time and you have freedom of money. So that is the end goal. It says I, it may not be for you, but it may be an idea. Okay, great. Now, here's an interesting one. Why is it so hard to make the shift from one quadrant to the next? And a lot of people say, well, it's all about mindset. You just need to think more positively. And sure, that's part of the answer, but that's definitely not the whole answer. So I want to be really clear on something here. Mindset, it's part of the problem, but it is not the main problem. See, if you have your own practice and you're feeling stuck, mindset is not the problem. And a positive attitude, quite frankly, is not going to fix it. If you're feeling stuck and frustrated in your practice right now, stop beating yourself up, because it's not you. It is not your fault. Let me explain it this way. If I get into my car, the steering wheel is broken. The brakes are not working. It's night time. The lights are not working. I'm going to drive down the road in this car, and I'm really going to hate that experience. I'd rather want to jump out this car and run away, because the car I'm driving is broken. Pretty simple. When I'm sitting in that car, I'm going to feel highly stressed, a lot of tension, the sweat's going to be dripping down my face. I'm going to hate it. Now, same with your practice. If the model that you're driving in your business is, let's call it broken, then things just aren't going to work. If you find yourself tense, a lot of pressure, sweat dripping off your face, you just don't like it, you want to jump out and run away, well, quite frankly, the model your practice is built on is broken. And for me, model beats mindset every single time. And also, if someone has the wrong model and you get them revved up, you know what happens? They fail even faster. So the fact is, you've been set up to fail. Rudy, how can you say that? Well, if you're frustrated with where you're at, if you're working long hours, if your cash flow is tight, if your profits aren't where you need them to be, if you can't find the right team or the right clients, no one's out there deliberately trying to ruin our lives as practice owners. The fact is that the system that you either bought into or the training you've had from very young in this industry and where you learned how to do this and you saw how other people did it, it's flawed. And this limits you in 3 major areas. It limits your team, it limits your growth, and it limits what I'll call your systems. And those 3 things ultimately dramatically limit the amount of money and time you take from your practice. So let me share with you 3 signs of this broken model. And I want you to write this down as we go along, because in a minute or so I'm going to come back and ask you questions about it. So make sure you've got pen and paper and writing this down now. So 3 signs of the broken model. You're always hoping for growth. There's no real growth strategy. Yes, we do get referrals, thank goodness, and we do a bit of this and that, but a real written down tactical marketing plan in place for growth. Second one, if I can just click on it. Oh, there we go. Second one is your team is over-reliant on you. So they need you there all the time, and you need them. And the third one, your systems are what I call sweaty. Now, obviously, you've gotten your practice to where it is today because you've got processes around you and systems. So I'm not all saying that you haven't got systems in place, but things aren't properly systemized throughout. If we go back to the McDonald's idea. And this means that everyone is working way too hard to get the job done. And what this usually means is that ultimately things fall back onto your shoulders to get it sorted. And the result of all this is that you're seriously limiting your profit and massively increasing the time you spend in the business. So if you're hoping for growth and your team are over-reliant, then you're stuck. You're not moving anywhere and there's nobody to help you. If your team are over-reliant and your systems are sweaty, then you're drowning. All this pressure on top of you and no way out. And then if your systems are sweaty and you're hoping for growth, then you are grafting, working way too hard with sweat and moving nowhere. So the question here, which of those three is costing you the most and why? So I'll go back to them again. But type for me into your control panel there, which is costing you most into your question box. Which of those three is costing you the most? These are the three signs of my broken model. Dennis, systems are sweaty. When I talk about systems, I talk about our debtors days. There's a system behind that. Our work in progress days. There's a system behind that. Bringing on new clients. There's a system behind that. Rose is team. Hoping from Charles. Liam hoping. Jonathan hoping for growth. From Mary, team. Paul hoping. Okay, good stuff. Jonathan, team as well. Good. Okay, so it's interesting to notice where your biggest troubles are. So those are the three things that limiting you. So if we could flip those three things from hope growth to something else, or this dependent team to something else, or from sweat systems to something else, then the lid comes off and you can make more money and we make more time for you and your practice. So this online training today is about making those three strategic shifts. And Dennis, I saw your comment there. Hey, fantastic. That's very nice. And what if we double or triple that? That would be even nicer, especially when a team is doing it. Good. Okay, so let's look at these three shifts here. Strategic shift number one, going from sweaty systems, or sweat systems, to scalable systems. Number two is going to be from over-reliant team to self-reliant team, and number three from hope growth to predictable growth. So let's look at shift number one here. From sweat systems to scalable systems. So instead of it always coming back onto your shoulders, your systems become scalable, the practice is streamlined, and there's lots of space for growth. So in our Black Belt program that we work with our clients with, and we call it a Black Belt program because when you start out, you're probably going to be on a white or a yellow belt, and then as you put things in place, you implement, and we're pushing you to make it happen, you get higher belts until the aim is the black belt. So in our Black Belt program, we have 4 keys to making the shift from sweat systems to scalable systems. Now, what I'm going to share with you, let me just show you this actually. No, let me go through this and then I'll come back. The key one is all about lockup. So decreasing debtors, work your work in progress. So therefore, we systemize our lockup. Key number 2 is all about customer service. How do we onboard effectively? What is our system for that? How do we add value to our clients, value-adding process? How do we maximize satisfaction? Key number 3 is KPIs. How do we measure that efficiently, direct accordingly, and track frequently? And key number 4 is about technology, automating compliance, paperless office, and leveraging the cloud. So for me, this corner of the triangle, which is the sweat systems, if we were to go tick, 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 tick on those 4 keys, that corner would pretty much be fixed. So for me, it's not about, yes, 1,000 tools and let's see which one you're going to need. We've absolutely 100% used the 80-20 rule, and we've taken the 20% and we've 80-20'd that again to say, here is the few things that you have to implement. Put this in place, it'll work. And today we're going to look at key number 2, the customer service process. Because this is the one place where we are going to defend ourselves against attack from anybody else out there. I don't care if they're Deloitte or KPMG or whoever. This is the big, massive key. So, good versus bad customer service. We, at our house where we live, let me just grab a sip of water quickly. Hold on 2 seconds. Thanks very much. So, we recently had a leak in our basement room, which is a playroom for our kids. And thank goodness insurance covered it, and they sent out a building company to come give us a quote for this. Or not give us a quote, but to look at the work. And the person from the building company arrived, very decently dressed, very smart. He does his review of the damage, and then he says, they'll be in touch within a few days. And within 2 days, I get a call to book the work in, and then a couple of days later, I get a phone call from them, quick phone call, just saying, hey, if you had to rate us your experience with us so far 0 to 10, how much would you give us? And after that point, I've been really impressed. So I said to them, well, I'm not going to give you a 10, but I'll give you a 9. And then the workmen arrived on the promised day. It was early, nice people. They put down kind of a plastic stickiness on the carpets to keep the carpets clean. So everything up to that point was really good, and all the way through, actually. But the point I'm trying to make here is that everything I've experienced so far had absolutely, and this is very important, pay attention here, everything I've experienced so far had absolutely nothing to do with building. But do you think I was very impressed? Of course I was. These people had a whole system around what they were doing. And because of that, therefore, at that point in time, did I trust that they would do the job well? Yes, I did. And did I trust that, quite frankly, even if I was personally paying for this, and yes, it may be a bit more expensive, a higher price, but would I have thought it was money well spent? Yes. And that's everything that's happened before anybody touched a brick to build anything. So please share with me in your chat box here again, what is your current customer service process or system like? Now, you might just type in ad hoc if it happens whenever somebody happens to remember something, or if you had to give yourself a 10 out of 10 we've got a fantastic system in place that gets followed step by step every single time. Just give me a few words there, just give an indication of where you're at with this in your practice right now. Is it ad hoc? Is it a 10 out of 10? Maybe give it a rating. It's a 3 out of 10, it's a 7 out of 10, it's a 9 out of 10. That might be easier. Okay, good. We've got a few answers coming in here. Ad hoc, ad hoc, ad hoc. From Dennis, onboarding, quote, acceptance, then a welcome letter and key contacts. Could be improved. Totally agree, Dennis. Absolutely. D, ad hoc. Jonathan says, emerging, we have mapped customer information flows, but don't have a system yet to manage it. Good stuff. So it's interesting. We've got a whole range of ad hocs here, and even the good people, you're all good people, with the ones with the good practices in here, even there, it's not definitely 100% yet. 2 out of 10 ad hoc. Interesting, because this place of impact, this one thing, let me go back there. This key, if you put this key, and this is low-hanging fruit, it's pretty simple to do. You could sit in a morning with your team, figure this out, put it in place, done. So let's look at this here. If you don't have a great customer service process in place, you are rightfully scared of losing clients, and especially to the big boys. who are now entering our marketplace. You know, the Deloitte and KPMGs, those people, yeah, when we look at the business owner quadrant, where we say having A+ team on board and having brilliant systems, everything is systemized, do you think those people have great teams and they have great systems? No, they might not score 100% on everything, but they're probably more advanced than most of us. So this is one thing where they are strong at, is systems, and it's the one place where you can fight them right now, easily. And if you don't do that, you decide to put it on the back burner because I'm too busy on other things. This is one of the big keys, absolutely vital. If you don't get this right in place, you know, you're just too busy to remember what needs to happen and when, which goes to the whole ad hoc, and which means ultimately you're not adding the extra value to clients that you need to completely wow them and be inundated with referrals. Now, if you do have a great customer service process in place, then you know your clients are safe. They aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Very, very, very unlikely. When you've got this in place properly, the system will operate without you, so you don't have to remember when to do it. And this means you're adding tons of extra value to your clients without even thinking about it, which will result in lots of great referrals. And when I say you thinking about it, means you personally. You've built a system around it, other people are thinking about it, the system is thinking about it, you don't have to. And you see, this thing about 0 to 10 rating, because I believe you can rate anything in life 0 to 10. So let's take your client relationships and give it a rating 0 to 10. You know, when you get a new client, today you've got a new client, that relationship is 10 out of 10. You know, we're in the honeymoon phase, it's just lovely, it's a 10 out of 10, brilliant. But now, of course, over time, this horrible thing called gravity starts happening. And if we're not proactively staying in touch with them to keep this relationship high, gravity will start pulling it downwards. It does. It's what happens. You know, we live on this planet called Earth. There's gravity. And over time, for whatever reason, their relationship has gone from this honeymoon 10 to a 8, 7, 6, 5. Now, a competitor comes into town, you know, KPMG, Deloitte, whoever, and they come in there and they want to build relationships. So they out there wowing anybody and everybody they can find, pretty much. And your client's relationship with them starts at a 0 because it was non-existent. But then because there's seminars and there's this and that and they're impressed, and those people are working hard on building relationships, the 0 goes to a 1, to a 2, to a 3, to a 4, to a 5, to a 6. Now, your relationship with them has dropped down to a 5. This new relationship has gone up to a 6. Guess what starts happening? Your client calls up and says, oh, you know, I love being with you, but unfortunately my wife's brother has an accountant and my hands are tied, there's just nothing I can do about it, we have to move. Or maybe they come back and say to you, oh, you know, we've had a quote from somebody and they're like half your price. Whatever the excuses are, they're not going to tell you what I've just shared with you here. They will word it in a different way. But because you have allowed the relationship to drop from a 10 out of 10 to something much less, somebody else has come in and stolen your clients. And if you're working on this, putting the system in place, it ain't going to happen, or very unlikely. So what could a systemized customer service process do for your practice? Come, let's go type it in there. What could a systemized customer service process do for your practice? And whilst we're filling that in, Dennis, good work there. Fantastic. Charles says, reduce stress. 100% Charles. Dennis, improve referrals and client retention. Absolutely hitting the nail on the head there. You know, Dennis, client of ours that have put this in place, you know, it takes care of those things. Jonathan says, give us headroom to grow and retain existing customers. Absolutely. Liam, improve customer retention. Paul, improve client relationships. Yeah, absolutely. These are all not just good things, they're vital to your survival and thriving. Okay, let's take a look at how we do this. So in order to build a customer service process that's hands-off and adds loads of extra value to your clients, there's really 3 key steps. Step 1 is that you need to grade your clients. Now, I'm not going to go into any major detail on this. I covered it in more detail in a different webinar, and there's also a video blog on the website on this topic. But step 1, you need to have clearly defined your client grades. I always say have an A+, A, B, C. And your A+, you want to have maximum of 20 clients. Okay, after you've done that, we go to step 2, where you need to decide exactly what the components for your customer service packages are. So A+, they've got a certain package with certain touches in it. A has certain touches, B has other touches, and C maybe no touches. So this could be a courtesy call, take them out for lunch, gift sent in the post, cards. These are things you should sit down with your team and brainstorm. And once you've got these ideas, you need to choose exactly which components apply to each client grade. And then step 3, it's about finding the right combination of technology and people that can make this a truly hands-off system. Now, I've got some Black Belt clients who use Iris to set up reminders for when to take the A+ clients out for lunch, and we've got other Black Belt clients who use the CRM systems to automate certain emails and reminders for clients all year round. But it's about choosing the right people and the right technology. And once you have those 3 steps in place, there's nothing stopping you from having a hands-off customer service system that adds a load of extra value to your clients, which will dramatically increase your client retention and your word-of-mouth referrals, and it will bounce away the advances made by people like KPMG and Deloitte. Absolutely 100% hand on heart, I promise that to you. So let's see who currently has a process like this in place in their practice. Now, the way I speak, it's very system-based because systems underpin our great A+ team sits on our system, so it's always systems. So maybe, do you have it yes or no? Maybe we should say a 0 to 10. Where would you put yourself at this point in time? 0 is no, really not. 10 is totally, and 8 is kind of on the way. Okay, so got a few zeros coming in here. 6, 3, 5, 2. Okay, good. And I hope the key that you saw there was, on the face of it, it is simple. And one of the things that we work with our clients, like Alan, he's got a practice in the south. Due to our customer service system now being systemized, we've seen an increase in both client retention and word-of-mouth referrals. And it's really interesting because our clients, they follow the system we teach them. It's fairly uncomplicated. I didn't go into like your 20,000 point formula to do this. It's relatively simple, but it's important that you make the time to sit down with your team and either figure it out, or with our clients, they just follow the systems we give them, and they link that with their team and their own brainstorming to make it happen, and saves huge amounts of time. But this is a huge, massive key, absolutely. If there was one thing that you could prioritize in the next 3 months to work on your business, this is a very good place to be. Solid. So please type in with me. What would you say are your biggest takeaways? What did you learn? What did you notice? If you want to share anything with us, just please go and type that into your question box there. And I know there's a few people who have not typed anything for a while, so we'd also love to hear from you guys. Where's my... Now I've lost my mouse. How do I get my mouse back onto the other screen? It's on the wrong screen. Okay. So Oh, I've put my mouse onto the wrong screen. I don't know how to get it back. This might be a bit of a problem. Okay, so we'll have to live without a mouse and see how that works. Okay, systemize, confirm what I was thinking regarding client relationships. Similar process in place, but perhaps not formalized, so all staff aware. Big key. Yep, Rosie. I need a tactical marketing plan and process in place to bring them through the funnel. Totally, written down. Okay, fantastic. So right now, I'm interested in you. You know, in relation to the bigger shift from sweat systems to scalable systems, where are you now, and what's the result if you stay there? So if you can go type that into the chat box, that would be really great. This is the other thing. If any of you have come across this before, I have two screens in front of me, and somehow my mouse has gone into my left screen, and for the life of me, it doesn't want to come back to my right screen. And I don't know what I've done to get it on the right screen, or on the left screen. So if any of you have come across this by any chance while you're listening to this, and you have an idea on how I can shift it back to the right screen, please type it into your chat box and let me know, because I'd really be great to have my mouse back on my right screen, where my control panel is. Okay, so whilst we're looking at that, yep, okay, so death, losing clients, no forward movement, absolutely. And, you know, Paul, was it saying if a tree isn't growing, then it's dying, and if we're not having forward movements, we're stagnating. Liam says grafting, good stuff. Okay. Let's see what happens if I live without a mouse and see if it works. Hopefully it does. So when you switch to scalable systems, when you do that, you know, everything gets easier. And that is what I really want for you. So right now, with my coach's hat on, I'm going to say you've got a choice to make. You know, you can keep on having sweaty systems where things are kind of disorganized, or you can make a decision. You know, draw a line in the sand, and you can say, I need to make the system scalable. So my question to you is, what's it going to be? I'm going to give you 5 seconds right now. Make a choice. You know, at the end of the day, it's your business, and you can do with it what you want. I don't mind. Obviously, I think that scalable systems will get you the results that you want, but I want you to make a choice. And my job today is to help you make 3 or 4 really smart decisions today. And this is the first one. So what's going to be? Your system's going to be sweaty or scalable? Scalable, needs to be systemized. Great. Okay, fantastic. And I think it's very important that, you know, as business owners, we're always so busy, busy, busy. Life is happening. There's so much going on. And very rarely do we take time to take a breath, think, and make decisions like this and say, you know what, enough. And when you do this stuff, you know, that's how you add extra value to your client relationships. We're going to show you how to communicate effectively with the team and create continuous growth for your practice. So shift number 2, going from over-reliant team to self-reliant team. In other words, you know, an over-reliant team, that's where it always comes back to me. They can't really do without me, and if I'm not there, it eventually just falls apart. Now, in our Black Belt program, we've got 4 big keys to making the shift from over-reliant to self-reliant team. And one of those keys is staff management. And that's one we're going to draw in much deeper today. Now, key 1, you can see staff, well, number one, what is a profitable practice model? What does that practice look like? Number two there, how do we recruit A+ players for our team? And how do we navigate outsourcing? Key number two, staff management. How do we maximize our management? How do we put a team meeting rhythm in place? And how in the world do I delegate effectively? Key number three has to do with time management, because this is a massive key, this one. How do I drive my diary? How do I eliminate tasks? And quite frankly, how do I work less? And key number four here is productivity. How do we terminate distractions, filter emails, and increase focus? So today is on key number two. So I'm sure for all of you that communication happens in some form or another in your office. Especially if you're sitting in an open plan office, how can there be no communication? And often when we have new clients coming on board, the first thing they'll say is, but really, what are you talking about? We're in this office, of course we communicate all the time, don't we? And the reality is, yes, you do, but is that communication strategic and directed to a specific purpose? Maybe not so much. So in order to make sure your communication is effective and strategic, we need a good team meeting rhythm. Now, do you currently have a team meeting rhythm? And again, let's go to the 0 to 10 rating here. 10 is absolutely. And if it is, then hey, I'd also like to know, what kind of rhythm have you got there? And if it's 0, then not so much. Okay, we've got some 0, 0, 0, 6, good, 8, weekly, fantastic. Okay. Good. Okay. So we've got a whole range there with quite a few zeros. So here's the thing, if we don't have a regular team meeting rhythm, because for me, meeting rhythm is like a heartbeat. In my body, there's this heart, and it's beating, boom, boom, whatever that rhythm is. Now, if I'm in a coma, or my practice is in a coma, I don't need much of a heartbeat. It's in the background, it's very slow, and when your practice has a very slow beat, rhythm to it, and it's in coma, it's very slow, there's definitely not enough strategic communication and interaction. Again, when we haven't got this in place, there's no strategic communication. Yeah, sure, people talk, but are they talking the strategic stuff, the accountability stuff, the bottlenecks, what's holding them back, what are we going to do to move us forwards? And again, if we haven't got this in place, it ultimately results in you being frustrated and out of control with things that are happening in your practice. Now, if you do have a team meeting rhythm, then your practice has a strong heartbeat. The communication is open, it's happening, it builds in accountability, peer pressure, and again, it's frequent enough to drive your strategic goals forwards. And again, when you've got this in place, your communication is strategic, it's frequent, it's about your goals, and everything that will drive the practice forwards. And all of which means you probably feel quite accomplished and in control of everything. So here's the question then. What could a regular team meeting rhythm do for you? So if you had a regular team meeting rhythm in place, what might that do for your practice? Let's go and type those in and see. Increased communication, Wait, no more. Who's on top of things? Steve says, hello Steve, good seeing you on here. Align goals for all the team, absolutely. Charles, concentrate attention on key issues. Jonathan's structured opportunity to bring forward good ideas. Yep. Good. Okay, there's a few more coming in there. Fantastic. So, what I teach my Black Belt clients is there's really 4 places you need to have this team meeting rhythm in place. So keep in mind that each one of these meetings has a very specific, I'm going to share with you these 4 types of meetings, or the rhythm, and each one of them has a very specific agenda in place for that specific meeting, which we then stick to. And again, what I'm about to share with you is a standard. Now, definitely you can always take any standard and adapt it to suit you. So firstly, daily meetings. Now, I'm not talking about 3-hour sit-down meetings where everybody falls down dead. This is not what I'm talking about here at all. This kind of meeting happens on a daily basis, every single day. Our team members are stood up, and there's 3 things that each person covers here. And also, they only have a maximum of 1 minute each for their bit. And the agenda is, what did you work on yesterday? What happened yesterday? What are you working on today? And what are your bottlenecks? Yesterday, today, bottlenecks. You have 1 minute to talk, and we go on to the next person. Now, this meeting isn't about discussion. So if you say, I don't know, my bottleneck is my printer isn't working, I might say to you, hey, come and speak to me after the meeting. I've got some solutions for you. We'll look at it. So this meeting isn't about finding solutions. It's just, this is what happened yesterday. This is what I'm working on today. Here's my bottlenecks. Now, some people say to me, but Rudy, we can't do this kind of thing because ... people are out, I'm not there, whatever. There's always great reasons why this couldn't happen. So the reality is that you've got to figure out a way with your team to make this happen. And from the top, as leadership, you have to absolutely insist that this happens, no matter what, and then it will. I've heard stories of large corporations, worldwide organizations with thousands of people who run this daily meeting every single day. And what they have is that people are not in the office, call in a conference call. I've had other clients where staff who aren't there actually email in, so even though they're not in a specific meeting, the response still comes in. And at the end of that, it's for you to figure out what works for you. But key is, where there's a will, there is a way. And what this meeting creates is a huge amount of peer pressure. Because if I stood up today saying, what I'm working on today is X, and tomorrow I'm still working on X, and 2 weeks down the line I'm still working on X, I'm at some point going to start feeling a bit like an idiot because I've been repeating the same thing over and over. Or if 2 weeks ago my bottleneck was my printer, and 2 weeks later it's still my printer, there's peer pressure that I feel because I've not changed things. So peer pressure is very, very powerful here. So the second thing here, there we go, the agenda. Okay, the second one is weekly. And so once a week, your team meets for a longer period of time. And yeah, we discuss things like the weekly KPI review, and we set targets for the following week. This discussion on strategic goals. And then monthly meeting rhythm is the third one. So, again, once a month, a couple of hours, morning, you want to review progress towards goals and KPIs. Also want to have a look over monthly P&L to check that there's nothing out of the ordinary. And you also want to do 1 or 2 learning training for your middle management. So that's stuff that can happen on a monthly basis. And then on a quarterly basis, we have a review, and we go through high-level strategy, set quarterly goals, that kind of stuff. So there are some ideas on what a team meeting rhythm could look like. And what this does, even if we are sitting in an open plan office where everybody's talking all the time, we don't necessarily discuss this stuff in an open way like we would in these kind of meetings. So these are very, very powerful for getting people onto the same page. People know where they're at, what's happening. It bonds a team from top level down to the bottom. It's fantastic. Very, very powerful. So question then, who currently has a team meeting rhythm like this in place? And again, let's go to the 0 to 10 rating here. 0 is absolutely not. 8 would be a kind of. A 10 is absolutely 100% yes. Because this year, again, it's very, very powerful for bringing people together. Okay, so we've got 1, 0, 0, 3, 4, 6. Okay, so a whole range there. Okay, good. And yes, one of our clients, Naz, and we now have in his case, what he's done is that he's put another person in charge of this. So he said, well, I don't want to do this. It's not one of my strengths. And we have a dedicated communications officer who ensures that our team communicates strategically on a daily basis. So Naz is really working on his delegation skills, and this is one thing that he has actually delegated. So, and the results, again, because there's communication happening, accountability, peer pressure, it shifts things in a very interesting way. Okay, so from this section, what are your biggest takeaways so far? If you type in one word or a couple of words just to say, my biggest insight or takeaway in that bit has been X. What might your X be? Charles says, for once we're on the right track. Very good, Charles. Brilliant. Okay, let's go type into your chat box there. Whilst I'm waiting for your answer to come through, I'm going to have a sip of water here. Interesting one here. Steve says his biggest insight is, or takeaway is, change in culture needed. Steve, it's interesting. I've got numerous clients. And I believe that when we change the systems and the mindset from the leadership team, culture will automatically go along. One example, and it's just an example, I've got a client who's a 9-partner firm, and one of the first things that they've shown is, we need this culture to be changed. And over time, we've worked on changing the systems, changing the leadership team's mindsets, and the culture shifts. You might have a culture of, I don't know, if we pick a word, sloppiness, but then when we bring in things like team meeting rhythm, daily peer pressure and accountability, because suddenly we bring the accountability, the culture that was, if we say, sloppy, will shift because there's a system in place to bring accountability to it. Good. Improve team communication as well. Okay, so this mouse. Okay, good stuff. Okay, thanks very much for that. So again, right now, yes, I'm sharing stuff with you, but actually, I do have my coach's hat on, and I'm interested in you. So, what we discussed here, it was specifically related to team meetings and stuff, but this is under the umbrella of team on the big triangle of the broken model. So in relation to that shift from dependent team to self-reliant team, where are you at the moment, and what would you say are the long-term results if you stay where you are? Let's do another 0 to 10 years. So 0 would be dependent team, and 10 would be self-reliant team. So put a number in there of where you are at the moment, and what's the long-term results if you stay where you're at. Okay. So we've got dependent, good. And again, think to yourself, even if you're not typing into the box there, what is the long-term result if you stay where you're at? Frustration. Steve says 4 to 5 won't achieve the growth we need. Yeah, it's interesting, not achieving the growth we need. Often when I say to clients, well, to people I speak to, think about if we've had the systems in place to give us the growth we need, or the accountability with the team, translate it into pound terms over the last 5 years, how much money you've, as a result, not made. How much profit have you essentially thrown away because we've not had these things in place? When we start sitting down and doing these numbers, sometimes it works out to literally hundreds of thousands of pounds. And it's scary numbers. Overworked. Okay, good. So, when you switch from this over-reliant team to self-reliant team, when you do that, I believe things get much, much better. And, again, with my coach's hat on, that's what I want for you. So right now, again, you've got a choice to make. You can keep on having an overly dependent team in your practice and forever be playing catch-up, or you can make a decision, draw a line in the sand and say, I need to make my team become self-reliant. So what's it going to be? And again, I'm going to give you 5 seconds right now. Make a choice. And again, it's your business. I don't really care what you choose. Obviously, I think that a self-reliant team is going to get you to the I quadrant if that's where you want to go. But it's your choice. So again, my job today is to help you make 3 or 4 really smart decisions. So this is one of them. Is your team going to be dependent or self-reliant? Good. Self-reliant. Self-reliant. Good. Okay. Because it is about pausing, taking a breath and saying, actually, what we have isn't going to get us to where we want to be. And, that's how we add extra value to our client relationships, communicate effectively with our team, and create continuous growth for your practice. So let's talk about this third strategic shift from hoping for growth to predictable growth. Now again, in our Black Belt program, we've got 4 keys to make the shift from hope growth to predictable growth. And I hope that you've realized today that, I've not shared with you 10,000 tools. For me, it is, here's a few, get these few right, and blimmin' heck, the thing works. So this one here, the 4 keys, there's pricing. How do we boost the margins? How do we communicate value? And how do we maximize our prices? Key number 2, marketing. How do we generate the right leads, nurture our prospects, and give them reasons to buy from us? And key number 3, sales. How do we disqualify the bad prospects? How do we sell value? And how do we increase conversions? Key number 4, M&A. So how do we accelerate growth, diversify our offering, and amplify our returns? And normally in these webinars, I only look at 1 key. But today, I want to combine those 3 keys there and just share with you some concepts, which I'm sure you've seen before, but a different perspective is always a good thing. So this term, sporadic growth, can easily apply to most of the practices I meet. Not all of them. There are exceptions to the rule, but there are, this whole culture of continuous growth. For most practices I meet, they have what I call sporadic growth. There's no doubting that there's some kind of growth, but the growth isn't regular, it isn't frequent, it isn't predictable, and it definitely isn't continuous. And most of the partners I meet fight hard all year round, trying to win business and grow their practices. And then, end of each year, they've made some growth forwards. And for some, we get to the end of the year and we've lost it out the back, we've gained some at the front, but in net terms, we've not grown at all. And I totally understand how this can make you feel. We're tired, overwhelmed, frustrated. You feel unappreciated because you've worked so blimmin' hard. And you've dedicated your entire year to this. And at the end of the day, haven't got all that much to show in terms of growth when we look at the amount of energy that you've put in, and that is glum and frustrating. So would you say that your current growth is more towards sporadic or more towards continuous? Which word would you use to describe the growth of where you guys are at the moment? If you're just going to type that into the chat box there, question box. Okay, sporadic, 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 continuous. Hey, fantastic, Dennis, well done. Sporadic, slow, entirely adventitious. Goodness, that is a big word, Charles. I have no idea what it means, but it sounds great. Sporadic, sporadic. Okay, good. So if you don't have continuous growth in your practice, then you worry about it, and you're working really hard with nothing to show. If we haven't got this properly in place, practice isn't moving forwards in the way it should be, and you're concerned you're never going to get yourself forwards. And all of this essentially means you're overwhelmed and frustrated. Now, if we do get this right, if you were to imagine that you did have continuous growth in your practice, then come the end of the year, you've got a lot to show for all your hard work. And year on year, your practice will be moving forward in the right direction, and actually you'd feel lots of self-worth, like you'd really achieved something. So here's the question then. What could continuous growth do for you and your practice? Yeah, interesting. Interesting question. What could continuous growth do for you and your practice? Let's go and type in a word or two there, because there's a bit of self-reflection. If we had a process in place for continuous growth, what would it do for me and for my practice? Yep, feel really good. More financial freedom. Make me happier at work and at home. Absolutely. Now, I always say, first decide what it is that you want for your personal life. Then step 2 is decide what business do you need to build to give you that life. Because when you do that, then you will achieve happiness. And then go and build it. Refresh the client base, purge losers, sustainable income, achieve profit and financial goals. Absolutely. These are all good things. So, like I said before, there's 3 simple steps you can do that will create this continuous growth. Now, I'm going to show you this model, okay? So bear with me here. The first step, simple. Obviously, increase the number of clients. And this really does come down to the written down tactical marketing plan that we have in place in the practice, and that we're then following. All of our Black Belt clients have this written down tactical marketing plans, which are then execute against, and we hold them accountable to how you're getting on with that. And it shows exactly how many new clients, there's targets, how many new clients you want to win each month, and the whole team is accountable to that. Then second step is to increase the average pound value of projects. And this comes down to pricing and getting that right. Now, when it comes to annual price increases, I'm guessing a fair amount of us use the process of, we'll increase by 3% or 5% or whatever it might be, or 10%. And again, one of the things that all of our Black Belt clients use is our pricing maximizer, where they get to see what other practices in our group are charging for all their services. So they can kind of benchmark themselves against, okay, so this is what other people are charging. These are the London prices. These are the rest of the country prices. Here's the lowest for this. Here's the maximum for that. So you can have an idea of where your pricing is. And this means that some of our clients have increased their pricing by, well, as an average 20%, but I've had some clients increase their price by 100% in some of their services. And then the third and final step is to increase the number of projects per client. And this comes back to what else are we delivering? What other services are we selling? Because there are so many possible opportunities that right now you're possibly not capitalizing on. And by year on year focusing on these three things individually in your practice, holding your team accountable for each one of those, focusing on those three, you'll have 100% creating this continuous growth process. So you might be thinking, well, really, yes, that's all pretty obvious, and of course it is. At the end of the day, success comes back to go back to basics and make sure your basics are fixed. Your foundations, if they're in properly, the rest will work. So I want to illustrate an example here for you. Let's get into this example here. So again, bear with me. I'm going to throw out some numbers here. It's just to illustrate the point. Because this is an example of how by focusing on these three separate numbers, how you can create this continuous growth in your practice. So let's say year one, okay, got 200 clients, average pound value projects 1,000, projects per client 2. And now I hope my maths is right, because even though I qualified as a chartered accountant many years ago, I can't do any of this stuff without a calculator, so bear with me if there's any numerical mistakes, but it should be fine. Okay, so total revenue 400K there. So let's say in year two, we don't do a lot. We've increased our client numbers by 10%, and that results in a number increasing total. Year three, we've really pushed on marketing this year, and we've increased our number of clients by 36%, a huge increase there. But the average pound value is increased by a little bit, by 50 pounds, and it's still by twice a year. But the revenue's jumped by 43%. Year four, number of clients increases by 16%. The value of the project, the pound value, price increased by 14%. And again, we get a huge jump there. Year five, we focus on a third of those 3 points. In this case, we've not increased the number of clients. We've not increased the number of value of projects. But we have focused on what else can we sell and deliver. And we've really put that in place, brainstormed with our team, put in place, and our profits increased dramatically. So the numbers are almost irrelevant. The point is there are three main areas that you could be focusing on. And my question to you as the practice owner, as the owner of this business, how much time are you focusing on each one of those individual points separately? So the question is, who currently has a focus on improving those three separate numbers year on year? So give me a yes if you have them separate in your head of number of clients. These are the things we're doing for that. And we're tracking it and we're setting targets. Average pound value of projects, we're setting targets, we're tracking that. And we're constantly looking for how else can we do it. Projects per client, we're setting targets, we're tracking it, we're constantly looking at how else can we do it. So I'm looking for a yes or a no here on that question. Who currently has a focus on improving these three separate numbers year on year? Let's type in yeses or no's there. Okay. No, just number of clients. I like one target at a time, so it's team at present. Good. Just the number of clients at the moment. No, no. Focus on number of clients mainly. No. Okay, so I think we're getting a flavor here that, for a lot of us, we're not particularly focused on these three things. And for me, it's a massive key that when you separate it in your head and you set targets around those three, things can shift dramatically. Here's one of my clients. It's interesting because Paul, he's definitely jumped into the I quadrant. what he created in his practice, in his business, has been phenomenal. And it's fantastic watching this guy because now he's jumped in the I quadrant. He is doing some amazing things, acquiring other practices, other business interests, because this man has learned how to ride the bicycle. Now, it took him a few years to get there. Absolutely, it's a process we will go through. But again, once you jump into that I quadrant, because you've learned how to ride the bicycle, it's fantastic what happens. And again, with him, following this approach, we triple our turnover in 3 years. So, nice stuff there. So please share with me your biggest takeaways so far. What you learn, what you notice, what you share. What are you taking away from that section? Please type that into the keyboard there for us, into the chat box. And I can see there's a few people who are not busy typing in, so it would be great to get you in there as well. John, Eamon, D, Christopher. Okay. Expand focus of marketing to 3 areas. Systems win in all sections. Christopher, that is such a huge, huge, huge key. Absolutely. Systems win in all sections. And all 3 of those broken model corners, at the end of the day, it's systems we put in for every one of those corners, for all of those keys I've shared. And when we do that, amazing things happen. Concentrate on growth, create a system for continuous growth, number of project issue. Great. Okay. Fantastic. So again, I'm going to put my coach hat on here. I'm interested in you. And again, in relation to this shift from hope growth to predictable growth, where would you say that you're spending most of your time at the moment? And again, what's the long-term result if you stay there? So go ahead and type it into the chat box there. Where are you now? And what happens if you stay where you are? Okay, so we've got a 0 here. I'm not going to say a name, but it has to be temporary. Ensure our practice continuity for future works. Absolutely. Gaining clients via referrals. Hope growth. Slow, hard growth. Absolutely. Yep. So when you switch to predictable growth, when you do that, everything gets easier. And that is what I want for you. And again, my job today is to help you make 3 or 4 really smart decisions. So right now, again, you've got a choice to make. You can keep on hoping for growth, being stressed out, always wanting one more client, or you can make a decision, draw a line in the sand and say, I need to make our growth predictable. So what's it going to be? Again, 5 seconds, make a choice. And again, I don't really care which choice you make. It's your business, your practice. It's your business, not mine. Obviously, I think that predictable growth will give you the results you want, but I want you to make a choice. As I said, my job is today to help you make 3 or 4 smart decisions. So make another one. Predictable, predictable. Get the team right first. Big key. Predictable growth, predictable growth. Yeah, good stuff. Okay. And again, that's how we add extra value to our client relationships, communicate effectively with your team, and create continuous growth for your practice. So, quick recap here. Fact is, you've been set up to fail. No one's deliberately trying to ruin our lives, and the fact is that the system that you've either bought into or what you've been taught as you grew up being an accountant and you saw everyone else doing, that system limits you in 3 areas. It limits you in team, your systems, and your growth. And ultimately that limits the amount of money and time that you take from your business, from your practice. So these 3 strategic shifts. Number 1, going from sweat systems to scalable systems, from over-reliant team to self-reliant team, and from hope growth to predictable growth. So, quick one here. I'm going to ask you to type into chat box, in 12 months' time, how do you want your practice or your firm to look? So, let me give you some examples, some keywords here. Increased revenue, increased client numbers, cash flow difference, more confidence, better marketing, income, and most importantly, how do you want to feel? How do you want your practice to be different? So give me a few words on if you look at your practice 12 months from now, how you want things to be different. As you're busy thinking about that or typing it in there. Yep. Increased revenue and income, have the right people working for us, increased revenue, team better qualified, getting the benefit of that progress, revenue, better systems. Okay, great. So now the second question here is, give me 10 words that describe where you are at right now. And again, you can use those ideas I shared with you there, increased revenue, client numbers. Where are things at right now? Client numbers, cash flow, confidence, marketing, income. How are you feeling? Okay. Good. Yep. Okay. Steve, that's an interesting one. And I totally get what you're saying. But that is definitely changeable. Okay. Yep. Okay. So write down for yourself, or just throw out a few keywords here. For each one of those 3 strategic shifts, think to yourself, what is missing? List for each strategic shift what's missing from that shift. So team, growth, systems, what is missing? Charles, like your answer, and I'm reading some humor here as well. System. Yeah, systems is a big thing. But systems plus an A+ team is something phenomenally powerful. An agreed plan. And Steve, that is one of the things that, if I blow my own trumpet here, that's one of the things I'm really good at. Okay, good stuff. Yeah. Okay, I want to wrap up with one last model that I think will be really helpful to all of you today. So, my job is to help accountants scale and grow if that's what they want. So I want to show you a ladder here. And you're somewhere on this ladder right now. And I've got clients on all different stages on this ladder. And again, I'm not doing this to judge anybody. I'm just explaining there's a path here. So at the bottom, we've got, you're starting up your practice as a startup. Then we go a step higher, what we call the survival mode. Next level up is what we call stability. Then success, then scale, and then significant. Now, in startup, you're doing spare time, survival, and part-time, stability, full-time. Success is in overtime. So, okay, scale, there's money is exchanged for time, and its significance, that's where you're free. So again, we can kind of overlap this with the employed, self-employed business owner investor quadrant as well. And that level there, I'm saying, this is a rough guide, about 150,000 turnover. It could be slightly less, slightly higher, but it's a rough guide. There's a level there. And there's a next level at about 500,000. And again, this is a rough guide, and that's not set in stone. But it's just a kind of an indication that kind of turnover-wise. Now, that is what I call the hunt phase. You need to get out there and just meet as many people as you can, hunt. This is the build phase, and this is the flow phase. And what I help my clients with is, take them up from that level upwards. Now, if you're in this startup and survival phase, I've got lots of great content, webinars, there's blogs, video blogs on the website. Keep on interacting with me. And if you're in the build or the flow phase, so that's there. If you're in the build or the flow phase, and you want to make the 3 shifts we spoke about today, then I want to talk to you for just a little bit more. Because the next step, if you want to go there, is really simple. It's for you to have a quick conversation with me, 10 to 15 minutes, and it is in the form of a friendly interrogation. I want to ask questions to you to find out if or how I can help you. And if I can, then we can talk about how, which can be a separate longer conversation. And if I can't help you, I'll try and point you in the right direction and say, go and talk to someone else about your challenge. So if you interested in the next step, then what happens in that 10-15 minutes, we cover a lot of ground very quickly. But in there, we get crystal clear about what's possible for your accountant's practice and the level of profit, the lockup, and work-life balance you really want to have. We find out the essential building blocks for growing your practice fast, discover the number one thing that's stopping you from getting what you want. We identify the most powerful actions to move you to the place you want to be, and you will leave the session with the confidence of knowing exactly what to do to create the practice you want. And like I said, at the end of the 15 minutes, either I can help you or I can't. And if I can't, I will point you, if I know somebody, in the right direction. And then if I can help you, we can book in another time to talk about how. So the next step is just to go to that website there, akoa.co.uk/session. And if you can tell me in 2 to 3 minutes on there a bit about you, then I can prep before the session and make the 15 minutes that we have together much more effective. So what I want you to do right now before we move into the Q&A is just go on, let's go on to that. Normally at this point I would go in and type it in, but because I've lost my mouse is going around on my left screen as opposed to my right screen, I can't go in and type it now. But go onto that website, try it out, and like I say, in there you can then book in a slot with me. Okay, Dennis, I've seen that you've given me all these. Okay, so good. I'll be in touch with you as well. Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to jump into the Q&A, and in there you can ask me anything about the session we covered today, or quite frankly, anything else to move your practice up. So we've got about 10 minutes max for that. I'll be at your service because I've got to go. So whilst I just take a quick sip of water here, and then we'll get into that. So if you've got your questions, you can start typing that in so long. And also, if you've got to leave now, then thanks for attending. Please keep interacting with me. We've got webinars typically once a month. There's video blogs once a week with great tips on them. So keep connecting with us. So let's get back to the Q&A. Just type in your questions, and then we'll take it from there. And again, there's that website where you can get onto that booked session. Okay. Okay, now I've had a few people say, please send me the slides, so we'll do that as well. Yes, sure. Okay, here's a question. When it comes to completing the customer service section, how long might that take? Good question, and I'm guessing, Dave, that the answer is, how long is a piece of string? But the reality is that if you were to focus on it and sit down with your team, you could probably in the morning, no, step one is that you've got to decide the definition of your grades. Who's A plus, who's A, who's B, who's C. So define the grades and then put the right people in. Now, that's depending on how many clients you've got, and you could delegate elements of that, could be done within a few days. I'm quite certain about that. Then next step is that you and your team sit down, brainstorm, okay, for our A pluses, what exactly are we going to give them? How regularly are we going to touch base them, whatever the process is for that? And our A's, our B's, and our C's, that could be a morning of brainstorming that. Then you definitely want a project manager who is responsible for that entire process that you can hold accountable. And you then ask them to systemize that, make sure that the right people know about things, whatever technology you're going to use, CRM system, Iris, whatever process. So I reckon if you focus on this, you could get it done within a couple of weeks, absolutely, and get it implemented. And you will start seeing results straight away. So within a few weeks, goals like this, we normally with our black belts, clients say to them, this is your quarterly goal. So for the next 3 months, this is one of your 3 quarterly goals. And they'll come back next quarter, it's done. So good. Okay. Which do I think is the best marketing strategy? Okay, so Charles, that's an interesting question. Different things work for different people. Without a doubt, referrals is always going to win hands down. And the key is that, again, when you've got a system around how you as a practice go about doing that, the results that will come from that will be much, much better. So when I talk about systems, so in other words, and again, I'm sure there's a video blog that I've done on this one as well, but systems refers to, does all our documentation, our email footers, all correspondence with clients, does it on there somewhere in a footnote have the point that, thank you for your business, we're always looking for referrals, or other people that you might know, whatever your wording is for that. But it wants to be there all the time. Do we have client feedback questionnaires that we do at least once or twice a year? And again, as part of that process, at the bottom there's, who else do you know? Do we have it written down on our year-end meeting agendas as this is a question to ask and discuss the topic? Do we have it built in that with my A+ clients, I'm going to take them for lunch once every 2 months, whatever it might be, and I'm going to ask the question when we meet? Do I use LinkedIn to connect with my clients and see who else they know that potentially they could refer me to? So there's a whole process around it, but very, very powerful. Okay, it doesn't look like there's any other questions in there coming through at this stage. Okay, so I think this is the point where I say thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, whether you go to that website to book a session or just email me directly, get in touch. Feel free. I wish all of you a fantastic rest of the day, a great rest of the week, and catch up with you soon. Bye for now.